Welcome, Discover. The hell? Karina's probably going to leave that in because she likes the naturalness of it. Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm Jeff Howard, and I have Christopher Sain with me. Hey, Chris.
Hi, Jeff.
We just had an excellent conversation.
We did.
That was technically your interview, but it's really just a conversation, right?
Yeah.
Podcasts are the lost art. I think podcasts are popular because we don't get enough conversation anymore. We don't even talk on the phone anymore. We text.
Totally.
So we miss human conversation.
Just sitting around chatting.
It's so nice.
Yeah.
It really is. Heck, that's probably why I do it, because I actually have that phone phobia thing, right? Someone calls you, you're like, oh, I don't want to answer.
What's wrong?
I just won't answer. Let them text me.
Yeah. Because like, I even feel with text, there's a job, or I'm going to have to think of something. They want something from me that I need to put mental energy into, you know?
Absolutely.
But chatting, you're just chatting.
Yeah, no. In fact, I do that thing where I actually have this. I send read receipts on my texts, so that like I know they know I haven't read it yet. Like I feel a little better about ignoring it. All right. So anyway, thank you, patient podcast listener, for that. And I will now properly introduce Christopher Sain as the writer, director, and producer of Śokasana, which is a short film that was at the Sherman Oaks Film Festival in 2024. Took home the Programmer's Prize for Exceptional Filmmaking. It is a beautiful film. Someday Chris will release it online probably, and maybe even remember to send me an email with a link to it so we can put that back in the show notes. It's not in the show notes, but you should listen to the podcast before this one to hear all about what inspired Chris to get into filmmaking and make that particular film. This podcast, we're not talking about that. We're just going to do the Discover Indie Film 4 questions, so Chris is going to answer. Name 3 favorite films, name an underrated film, name an overrated film, and name a lesser-known film for people to seek out. Obviously, just an excuse to discuss cinema.
Yeah.
And you maybe get some good recommendations.
Yeah.
But you want to just jump in and share some of your favorites?
Let me jump in. Okay, so, obviously, my favorite film is something that I don't really agree with the premise of, but here are some films that I really love, So one of the films that always, gets me, I've watched this quite a few times, but Persona by Ingmar Bergman feels like such a snobby or, a pretentious movie to choose, right? But it's powerful. Like there's something about the way that he tells that story. The cinematographer, Sven Nykvist, is incredible. Like the shots blow my mind. But it's also such a quiet storytelling and so deep and profound to me that I find it immensely moving. Have you seen Persona?
Yes, like 40 years ago.
Yeah.
But hey, I would just support you on the choice. I mean, it might be a cinephile's choice in air quotes, but it's great work.
It's great work.
Great. And by talking about the pacing, you even reminded me of a compliment I didn't get to pay you during your interview.
Oh.
Because at one point you did say how Śokasana has a bit of a deliberate pace. It's and I always like to pay people the compliment of I always want to thank people who don't have a super frenetically paced short film.
Yeah.
Because it reminds me that I don't have, sometimes I worry, has my attention span been ruined by the modern world?
Right.
And then you see something, whether it's Persona or Śokasana, and you say to yourself, oh no, if it's really good and engaging, I can enjoy a deliberately, slowly paced film that slowly reveals itself as long as I'm intrigued and involved.
Yes, totally.
And then I don't have to worry about my attention span. I'm only bored with stuff that isn't good.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like a film has to breathe. Like I'm a big fan of stuff that's slower paced, stuff that's observational, stuff that doesn't have a lot of dialogue often, where you just get to like see a moment,
The lack of dialogue is often really wonderful.
Well, that brings me to my second.
Oh, is it?
one of my favorite films of all time is a movie called 3 Iron. It's a Korean film. The director is Kim Ki-duk. And the whole movie, the two leads don't speak.
Well, I already confessed that to you that I'm completely ignorant of Korean cinema. But maybe I've got to start with that one.
Start with that one. Honestly, it's just so gorgeous. Like to just watch people live, and there is a story that's being told that actually really, deeply holds your interest, but it's all just done through observation. Kind of like the Oscar-winning animated film this year, Flow, where you just watch a cat move, and there's no dialogue, but it's like to tell a story just through movement and just through observation, I think is really profound. So definitely 3 Iron. I recommend that one. And then I need to pick an American film for sure on my top 3. So probably I'll go, I'm going to go with Moonlight.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
Beautiful film. And again, a great pace, and so profound in its like observation of human nature. And for me, really, that film is about masculinity and vulnerability. And what does it mean to be vulnerable as a man, Yeah, I mean, I could talk about Moonlight all day. There's this, I don't know, how deep do we go on these conversations?
As deep as you've...
Okay, there's this shot in Moonlight that gave me chills. And, towards the end, in the last act, he sits down at the diner. And this man that he hasn't seen in a while makes him a meal. And when he brings a meal to the table, he has to take out like the grills from his teeth in order to eat. And that choice to actually shoot the shot where he removes the grills from his teeth, it floored me as a choice, because to me it's like, I love when I see one scene that encapsulates the whole film. To me, that's saying you're taking your front off, you're taking your guard off in order to actually receive sustenance and love from someone, and that symbol of what vulnerability means for me was the whole film coming together in one shot. And so, yeah, Moonlight, I think, is genius level work.
It is, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's nice to hear it comes up, and it's a beautiful film. But I also love that you didn't focus on the acting. Like you focused on the content and the meaning of the film. Because I honestly, to some people I talk to, it's also obviously you can't ignore how brilliant all the acting is. Right. But it's a lot more than a performance piece.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. It's more than a performance. And I also find with that film, people will call it a black film or a gay film, or like, I feel like the topics, if you touch on a topic that is political in some way, the film gets the marker of that topic. And it always, I was like, this isn't, it does speak to black experience, but it's not a black film. Right? It speaks to gay experience, but it's not gay film. To me, it's like a film, maybe it's my bias, but to me, it's a film about vulnerability, which is deeply human. Any human can relate to, right? It's not about this one segment. It's about what it means to be human.
Well, and I think you're expressing the way the world should be. And maybe the way the world is a lot of people will just look at it as a black film or a gay film or a gay black film. But that's just because they are trapped into tribalism and categorization. Yeah. When, the Sherman Oaks, our film festivals we have a strong ethos about that we won't ever categorize films, and we won't ever have a block devoted to a certain genre or a certain something because I think that balkanizes.
Yeah.
The term is underserved community, and so I just believe that the underserved community should be treated equally.
Right.
And I think that's what you're saying. It's a human film.
Right. Totally. Yeah.
Well, that's 3 wonderful films. That's really, I suppose I could make the question. It's funny because it was intentional. The I forget what it was originally called, that first question, but people started thinking they had to name the 3 best films I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So I changed it to favorites so you wouldn't be like, I'm like, look, it could be a guilty pleasure. It could be just something that you've always loved Dumbo. So fine, it's fucking Dumbo.
Yeah.
Well, a film I've never seen.
Yeah.
but so I changed it to favorites. But now you did make me think maybe it should just be named 3 wonderful films.
Yeah.
To get away with the pressure of saying
there's so much pressure. But again, because I don't really like thinking about art in terms of a scoring metric or a categorization, which I know is part of your whole job. But there's something about it, isn't there, that creates this like, well, to me, it's the left brain stuff that I was talking about in our other podcast. There's a right way and a wrong way. And for me, art just has to be, I have to think about it differently. I can't say this one's better than this because technically the story structure followed the, I just have to say, I love that one. I didn't love that one. You know what
exactly. I mean? I try to be a decent human, and I'll joke that Top Gun Maverick, they didn't need me. They didn't need me to go see it. I get it. It wasn't made for me. I probably wouldn't like it. But but that doesn't make it a bad film. It's just they didn't make it for me.
Right. Totally. Totally.
Yeah. If I love something, that means I'm fortunate that the creatives behind that film and I share something that makes it meaningful to me. Like your film meant something to me.
Yeah.
If a film means nothing to me, it just means I don't give it a good rating. That's all.
Right.
Because I'm stuck in a world of giving everything a 1 to 10 rating for the film festivals.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
It is what it is. But I like your point. 3 wonderful films is a great.
Yeah, maybe I will rewrite that. That'd be funny. I will forever owe you for that. Well, another judgmental question, I guess, is a film that you feel is underrated.
Oh, okay. So there's a lot of films I think are underrated, and it's usually because
you can name more than one if you want.
I love that just gets panned by critics. So. There's this Guy Ritchie film called Revolver. A lot of people don't know that because it got just destroyed by I think its Rotten Tomatoes score is like 10% or something. But this film changed my life. Like, it is a gorgeous philosophical essay by someone who is known as he makes action capers, right?
Yeah, he makes crime films.
Yeah. And so the Paintbrush is a crime film, a bunch of gangsters doing a heist or something, right? But underneath that, he's making a statement about psychology and how we operate as humans. And it is a profound piece of work. And I think it was a curse of the wrong audience. Nobody was ready for a Guy Ritchie film that was a philosophical statement, and so it just got destroyed. But I think it's an incredible piece of work, and it really forced me to examine myself and change some things in my life. And so that's a film that always stands out to me. But that's where I was like, I might be alone because 10% on Rotten Tomatoes, the critics hate it, but I love it,
But you already pointed out that it was Guy Ritchie sort of going against, what he's known for. His
stereotype.
Yeah, he is. He got pigeonholed.
Right.
I mean, heck, even his Sherlock Holmes had it was pretty, slow motion fighty, Matrixy fights, it was. He's he's known for style, not substance.
Right.
So it sounds like he went for substance. By the way, I didn't see it because it probably got panned, and so I avoided that one.
Yeah.
Now I want to see it.
Yeah, you should.
There we go.
I recommend it. It's got Jason Statham, Ray Liotta. May you rest in peace. But there's this great scene where Ray Liotta's holding a gun, and he's saying, "Fear me," and he's just stuck in this, needing you to fear him, and it's the most powerful scene. I definitely recommend this film.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I actually think that Guy Ritchie is an underrated artist.
Yeah,
because I think a lot of stuff he did has more depth than he gets credit.
Yes,
because
totally.
People just saw him as style over.
I think
substance.
where he had freedom, he's got some great films, and then he's got some money films like anyone else, where it's just, whatever. But
yeah, I think the Hollywood term is a paycheck project.
Paycheck project. Yeah,
I did this one for the paycheck, and you know what? As someone who has never turned down, So anyway, the joke is understood. Did you want to name another underrated, or you want to? Because you said you had many, but we can move on.
Okay, here's another one. Lady in the Water.
Oh, Shyamalan, right?
M. Night Shyamalan. Yeah. Did you see Lady in the Water?
No, because that one got panned too.
Panned. Everyone hates it. I think it's a beautiful fairy tale. Beautiful fairy tale. And sometimes I see these films and I see the ratings. I'm like, I don't know if we watched the same movie or not. But I thought it was gorgeous. I think that there were things that choices he made that made people pissed. But anyway, I enjoyed it a lot. It's common, I think, where there's something that I'll just really love, and I don't care if everyone else hates it.
Got it. No, you shouldn't. And actually, both those filmmakers, I think, have an individual style. I mean, M. Night Shyamalan, I've always respected. I really do feel he makes films for himself.
Yeah.
And doesn't give too many fucks.
Yeah.
About the results, because he knows sometimes he'll hit, sometimes it won't hit, and he just keeps.
But again,
moving forward.
There's like this expectation that he's supposed to make something that's a horror that makes you scared, like a scary twist or something.
Yeah.
This
you
movie
don't
doesn't
see
have
it
that.
coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes it's this curse, this wrong audience curse, So anyway.
Fair enough. All right. Well, do you want to do an overrated?
Okay. A film that I just never got, that most people love, but Gladiator. I watched Gladiator, and I feel like even in film circles, people love Gladiator. And I watched it as, I don't know, it never moved me. It never hit me. But that's where underrated, I'm like, I can talk about ones that everyone loved that I didn't love, or everyone didn't love that I loved, and that's all underrated, overrated is to me. I don't have the authority to say it's bad or good, but Gladiator didn't do anything for me,
Yeah. In fact, I completely agree with your interpretation of the question. I even say, like, I can call a film overrated that I think is a very good film.
Yeah.
It's just like that particular filmmaker, often their 3 films previous were brilliant.
Yeah.
This one struck me as more compromised, but that's the one that Hollywood gives an Oscar to.
Right.
And so I call that one, I go, that film was wonderful, but I would rather that person get awards for the better earlier one.
Totally.
So that's normally my weak-ass excuse for overrated, but
I know that feeling.
And I couldn't help it. And it is always fun. It is always fun when there was one wonderful filmmaker, and she said, "Films made by men." She's like, "I'm over them."
Yeah,
and I was like,
"That's great."
Hand clap. And she's made a couple wonderful films over the years. Okay, so anyway.
Yeah. Okay, wait. I've got another one that isn't part of your categories at all, but I've been thinking about this a lot. So there's this critique about The Godfather. I just came onto it with your films made by men. But I hear a lot of people saying, oh, The Godfather's overrated. And then the criticism they have of The Godfather is actually a criticism to other gangster movies. Like the criticism is, oh, it's this male fantasy about solving all your problems with violence, and all the women are just, subservient to you or whatever. I'm like, that's a fairly valid criticism of like Goodfellas or like any of these other ones. But The Godfather is a different movie. Whenever somebody says that, I'm like, I don't feel like you've seen the movie that I've seen. Because to me, The Godfather isn't about crime. It's not about being a gangster. It's not about being violent. The violent characters are the weaker characters in The Godfather. It's about family. It's about like something that is much more human than crime or mafia or criminality. That's just really the setting for the story, Anyway, that's how it always bugs me,
It's funny because I have an unpopular opinion on the Godfather films, which is I think the first one is nearly perfect.
Yeah, I agree.
And Godfather 2 doesn't do much for me at all. Actually, Godfather 2 kind of loses me, especially with the Cuba stuff and this and that, and like Michael Corleone, like he's the only guy who sees that Castro might win. You know what I mean? Like, I just find I'm like,
2 is a little bloated as well.
Yeah.
It's a bit meandering.
Yeah, but boy, and I don't need any of the stuff with De Niro, actually. Like, going back to Italy, I'm like, all right, so fine, Grandpa stab people. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I totally, and I think that's one of the films that when people say, name a sequel better than the first.
Right.
And they always say Godfather 2. And I'm
with you. One is better, by far.
One is wonderful.
One is perfectly structured. Right? Like the structure of the storytelling is perfect.
Yeah.
And it tells us one complete story, and it has these offshoots. He goes to Sicily. There's all these other things going on, but yeah, one is a fantastic movie.
One is a fantastic movie, but I understand that it created a genre, and the genre's been beaten to death.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
So it is. I understand a young person or someone else being like, all these mob movies suck. And
right.
It's like, well, believe me, I have gotten tired of mob movies too. Like, I really can't believe that, I tried watching The Irishman.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, okay. We can move on.
Yeah.
Because the last one is a lesser known film that you would like people to seek out.
Okay. So this is a movie that I watched as a very young child. And then when I watched it again as an adult not too long ago, all these feelings came flooding back. And I realized that this movie actually shaped who I am during early childhood. And a lot of who I am, I think, comes from my experience with this movie. Again, watching it repeatedly as a child. And that movie is The Black Stallion, 1979. A gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous film. Again, very slow, very minimal, but it's about this boy who gets shipwrecked, and his only friend is this horse. And he's alone in nature, bonding with this horse and surviving at a young age. And then he comes back to the world, to America, to his home, and he doesn't really fit in anymore with humans. And there's something about the way they told this story that is just, it's very dreamlike, but it's also, again, such a profound statement about our disconnection from nature, and the way that our human societies can create this like other world. And so here's this boy who is just so connected to nature because he's been shipwrecked for however long, that when he comes back, it's just like everything human is alien, And I've always felt so like comfortable and safe in nature, which I think, I always meet people who are scared of nature, right? And if I say I'm from Australia, the most common thing is talking about snakes and spiders and everything, But for me, nature is like such a safe place, and I think it comes from this film. So definitely check out The Black Stallion, 1979. I recommend it.
Excellent. I'm forced to mention that my guinea pig Chester took to you, which is rare. So you do have a good connection with animals.
Yeah, I love animals.
Had to mention that. I would have sworn I plugged in this laptop, but I didn't, and it just warned me that it's going to shut down. So now it is plugged in. Crisis averted. All right. Just in time for me to wrap it up, I suppose. But wonderful list.
Thank you.
I remember seeing The Black Stallion as a kid when it came out. It was a famous book too, yes?
Yes.
Yeah, because my mother loved the book. She grew up on the book, so she took us to that.
Yeah.
It came out in the 70s, yeah, you said? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I saw it as
and
a
it's
kid.
set in the 40s, which is really fun. Because I think the book might have been from the 40s.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But that is one of the... Yeah, I mean, whenever films manage to pull something off with animals, it's pretty special.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't even remember the last time it worked. And, of course, now we get digital animals.
Oh, they're horrible, though, aren't they?
I guess. I confess that when the live-action Jungle Book came out, I was like, well, let's go see that in IMAX. I was like, let's go see that in IMAX because I wanted to see giant talking animals.
Yeah. Is that a recent one or is that the 90s one? I
think it was in the last 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I missed that one.
I think Jon Favreau directed it.
Okay. Yeah.
Because, he does his paycheck gigs, and then he makes a cool thing like that Chef movie.
That Chef was great, wasn't it?
You got to love the people who go back and they'll do something a little more independent now and then.
Yeah.
5 for you, 1 for me, whatever it is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's a nice luxury that fellow has.
Oh.
All right, well, let me wrap this up. First of all, Christopher Saint is here with me. Your Instagram and whatnot will be clickable links in the show notes. Also, the clickable links in the show notes will be stuff about this podcast and the film festivals that gave birth to it. If you want to learn more about the podcast, please like and subscribe to it. You can learn more at discoverindiefilm.com. And on social media, it's always at DIFWins. We have deleted the Twitter X accounts, and it's on Blue Sky now as DIFWins. Chris's film, Śokasana, played at the Sherman Oaks Film Festival. We hold that. Oh, I didn't mention the nonprofit. Maybe I'll do it at the end. So, if you want to learn more about the Sherman Oaks Film Festival, where Chris's film played, just go to ShermanOaksFF.com, and it's at ShermanOaksFF on social media. This year, 2025, is the 10th edition, 10th anniversary. Its sister festival that we hold every June is Film Invasion Los Angeles. You can learn more about that one, FilmInvasionLA.com, at FilmInvasionLA on social media. Again, no Twitter X, a little bit of Blue Sky in there. What can I say? Judge me. And I said to Karina, should we delete the Twitter X stuff? She's like, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Just get rid of it.
Yeah.
We don't need it.
We don't need that.
No one listening to this is...
No.
I find it hard to believe that people deeply into indie film... Well, anyway. And discoverindiefilm.com is the website for this podcast. Discoverindiefilm.org is for the nonprofit that runs both of those film festivals, because I shouldn't say that joke. I was going to... Yeah. So, that's the nonprofit, because we still have nonprofits for the arts in this country for now. That was the bad joke. And I mentioned Film Invasion LA. If you go to the Film Invasion LA website, you'll notice there's a little something called Film Invasion Lima, because next year in Lima, Peru, we're going to have a film festival. And I'm excited.
This is so cool.
I've never been.
Yeah.
And of all things, for our second city to be in South America.
Yeah. I've been meaning to visit Peru. Maybe I'll go to the film festival.
Oh. That would be nuts. I'm actually thinking of talking to Chevy and saying, hey, we should talk to some airlines, see if we can get a group discount or something.
Yeah.
Because I got my flight tracker going and it's like 700 something. Not bad. Not
okay.
bad.
Yeah.
But anyway. Decent. All right. Chris, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Jeff.
And thank you, everyone, for listening.